The night I agreed to become Keegan's personal trainer, he looked me straight in the eye and said something I would never forget for years afterward. "If you make me quit halfway through, then never show your face in front of me again." I laughed. "And if you're the one who quits?" Keegan smirked. "I don't quit." At the time, I just thought he was overconfident. It wasn't until much later that I understood. Keegan had never given up on anything, except his own heart. If I had known that this cold man would become someone I loved enough to want to spend the rest of my life with, maybe that night I would have stood still a little longer to remember the first moment we looked at each other. Because the love between the two of us didn't begin with a hug. It didn't begin with a kiss. It wasn't love at first sight either. It began with a 12-week training contract, and with a promise that neither of us would be allowed to fall for the other first. Of course, we both failed. My name is Tate. I grew up in Seattle, in a quiet neighborhood where the neighbors knew each other's names better than their house numbers. My father used to be a college track athlete before becoming a police officer. My mother was a nurse. They weren't wealthy, but they always taught me that a healthy body is the most precious gift a person can give themselves. Since I was 15, while my friends spent their summers playing basketball or driving around, I asked to work part-time at a local gym just so I could train for free. I was so obsessed with training that people called me the gym addict. I didn't deny it. I loved the feeling of sore muscles after every workout. I loved watching someone go from weak to confident. I loved the moment someone shouted because they just lifted a weight they never thought they could. I loved the feeling of helping someone else become stronger. Maybe that's why, when I entered the University of Washington, I chose to major in kinesiology. Classes during the day. Early mornings and evenings working as a part-time trainer at the school's fitness center. Life repeated itself so much that I once thought my 4 years of college would pass by peacefully. Until an afternoon in early September, my sophomore year. "Which trainer has an open slot?" the gym manager asked while looking at the schedule board. No one answered. The start of the school year was always the busiest time. Every student wanted to transform themselves. About a month later, most of them would disappear. I was wiping down the bench press when I heard the manager call out, "Tate, here. New client. I'm fully booked. This one signed up for the 3-month package." I lifted my head. 3 months. That was the most expensive package for students. "I'll take it." "Good." He glanced toward the door. "He's here." I turned around too, and in that moment, the whole gym seemed to slow down. A guy about 6'2" walked in. Black hoodie, gray sweatpants, headphones hanging around his neck, dark brown hair falling slightly over his forehead, a face so sharp it looked carved, cold blue-gray eyes scanning the room. Quite a few people glanced over. A couple of girls whispered to each other, but he didn't seem to care. The manager pointed toward me. "This is Tate. And this is Keegan." Keegan walked over. We shook hands. His hand was very cold. "I'm your trainer." "I know. I'll design a program." "I don't need a program." I paused. "What do you mean?" "I need someone to make me train." "That's it. I know what I have to do. I just don't do it." I blinked. That was the strangest answer I'd ever heard. "Then why sign up for a trainer?" Keegan looked me straight in the eye. "Because if I've paid for it, I won't have an excuse to skip." He said it very calmly, but there was something in his eyes that looked like exhaustion, not the tiredness of studying, but the kind of exhaustion that comes from fighting yourself for too long. Professional instinct kept me from asking further. "I understand." Keegan nodded. "Can we start tomorrow?" "Sure." "What time?" 5:30 a.m. For the first time, his cold expression shifted. "Are you kidding me? I never joke about training times. The whole campus won't even be awake. Train first, class after." "You're actually insane." I laughed. "Thank you." That wasn't a compliment. "I know." For the first time, the corner of Keegan's mouth lifted, just slightly. Only a little, but enough for me to notice. Behind that icy exterior was a completely different person. Someone who was just trying to build a wall high enough that no one could get in. At the time, I only saw him as a special client. I had no idea that the next 3 months of training would change my entire life. Not just because Keegan would become the best client I'd ever trained, but because with every session, every meal, every run in the rain across campus, every accidental touch between the two of us, the line between trainer and lover would slowly disappear. And by the time we realized we had fallen for each other, we would also have to face the hardest choice of our youth. Early the next morning, my alarm went off at 4:45. Seattle in early September was still pitch dark. Light rain tapped against the window of the tiny student apartment I shared with a classmate. I reached over to turn off the alarm, threw on my familiar navy blue hoodie, grabbed my backpack, and headed out. The city at 5 in the morning had a beauty all its own. Empty streets, yellow streetlights reflecting off the rain-slicked pavement. Air so cold every breath turned into a puff of white smoke. I always loved this time of day. Quiet, no one bothering me, no phone, no social media, just me, the gym, and the goals of a new day. But today was different. Today I had a new client. And for some reason, I couldn't stop thinking about Keegan's eyes from yesterday. Cold. But behind that coldness was something very heavy. 5:20. I'd finished warming up. 5:25. I had the first training plan ready. 5:30. No sign of Keegan. I checked the clock. 5:33. Still no one. I laughed. Typical student. 3 months of experience as a trainer had taught me one thing. People were always excited on the day they signed up. But the next morning, they vanished. I was about to put away the folder when the gym door burst open. Keegan ran in, hair disheveled, breathing hard, jacket still wet with rain. "I'm sorry." I checked the clock. 5 minutes. My damn alarm didn't go off. Or did you turn it off? Keegan went quiet. I laughed. Guess I got it right. He scratched the back of his neck, looking nothing like the cold guy from yesterday. I stayed up until almost 2 doing a model. Architecture major? Yeah. I sympathize. Really? No. I picked up the training plan and handed it to him. In this gym, I don't care what you're studying. I only care whether you're serious or not. Keegan looked at me for a few seconds. Then he nodded. Understood. Good. From now on, I won't treat you like a customer. I'll treat you like an athlete. And my job is to make you stronger than you were yesterday. I won't promise every session will feel good, but I promise every session will mean something. Keegan didn't respond. He just took off his jacket. I'm ready. The first fitness assessment took almost an hour. Squats, push-ups, pull-ups, running, flexibility check, body fat measurement. I recorded everything carefully. What surprised me was Keegan was stronger than I expected. Decent base fitness, broad shoulders, strong back, long legs, but his technique was basically non-existent. After finishing the last test, Keegan sat down on the bench, panting. So, I looked at the results sheet. Good. He raised an eyebrow. Just good. I thought you'd praise me. I don't praise. I evaluate. Is there a difference? A big one. I pointed at the paper. You have potential. But you're lazy. I'm not lazy. You lack discipline. Keegan started to argue back, but then stopped, because we both knew I was right. A moment later, he asked quietly, How do you know? I used to be like that. When you first started training? No. When I first started college. I sat down across from him. Freshman year, I thought I was good. Trained when I felt like it. Rested when I was tired. Ate whatever, whenever. Until I got a shoulder injury. I had to take almost 4 months off. That time taught me something. What changes a person isn't motivation. It's habit. Keegan looked at me very intently, like it was the first time he was truly listening. I'll help you build habits. But I can't do it for you. Keegan nodded slowly. I'll try. I don't need you to try. I smiled. I need you back here at 5:30 tomorrow morning. This time Keegan laughed out loud. Fine. I'll be here. 3 days later. He arrived exactly on time. A week later. 2 minutes early. 2 weeks later. Keegan was the one opening the gym every morning. I pretended to be annoyed. Are you trying to steal my job? He shrugged. I hate having to chase after other people. So I get here first. I smiled. Good. I like clients like that. Really? Yeah. I thought you didn't like anyone. You're wrong. I really like people who are willing to change. Keegan said nothing. But when he turned to grab his water bottle, I saw the corner of his mouth curve upward. That was the second smile I'd seen. More natural, warmer, and more dangerous too, because I started to realize I looked forward to every morning not just for the job. I looked forward to seeing Keegan, looked forward to hearing him grumble about a hard workout, looked forward to arguing with him about every movement, looked forward to seeing that rare smile appear one more time. At the time, I kept telling myself it was just the kind of care that exists between a trainer and a client. I had no idea. My heart had already quietly crossed a line my mind hadn't caught up to yet. Week 3. If anyone asked what impressed me most about Keegan, I wouldn't say his height, his face, or his blue-gray eyes. I'd say his transformation. I had watched plenty of students walk into the gym full of fiery determination. They bought new clothes, new shoes, new water bottles, posted on Instagram with captions like, "A better version of myself starts today." Then 2 weeks later, gone. Keegan was the opposite. He never posted anything on social media, never showed off his progress, never took mirror selfies. He just quietly showed up at 5:30 every morning, finished his workout and went to class. Every single day, never missed one. That made me start to hold a special kind of respect for him. 2 more. Keegan was on the floor in a plank position, sweat dripping. Tate, my arms are about to fall off. Your arms are still attached. Then 2 more. I hate you. I know. 1, 2. Keegan collapsed onto the rubber mat. I swear. If you ever stop being a trainer, you should join the special forces. I burst out laughing. I'll take that as a compliment. You should take it as an insult. I still like it. Keegan shook his head, but the corner of his mouth curved up. 3 weeks ago, I couldn't have imagined him joking like this. The wall around Keegan was coming down. Slowly, but very clearly. After training, we usually sat and rested for about 10 minutes before heading off to our separate classes. That day, I pulled 2 chocolate milk cartons out of my backpack. For you. Keegan looked at the carton. Why? Protein and carbs. Your body absorbs it well after a workout. I'll pay you back. It's on me. Why? I bought a 12-pack. There's plenty left. Keegan took it. Thanks. You know something? What? When we first met, I thought you'd never say the words thank you. He laughed. When we first met, I thought you were the most annoying person on campus. I still am. True. You're still really annoying. We looked at each other for a few seconds, then laughed together. The sound echoed through the still empty gym. I don't know why, but that moment made the rest of my day feel really good. About a week later, I learned Keegan wasn't just a good student. He was also popular. Not the kind of popular you find online, but on campus. As we walked across the architecture department's courtyard, people kept calling out to him. Keegan, group meeting at 7. Don't forget to submit the drawing. Hey, want to watch the game this weekend? Everyone knew him. Everyone wanted to talk to him. But Keegan only answered briefly before continuing to walk. I nudged his shoulder. I thought you were an introvert. I am an introvert. Then why does everyone know you? Because of group projects. I don't like socializing. I laughed. Hard to believe. Why? I thought you were the cold, hot guy type. Keegan frowned. Don't call me that. Why not? It sounds ridiculous. I think it's accurate. You're the hot guy, actually. This time I was the one who froze. What? Keegan shrugged. The first day I came to the gym, I saw 3 girls staring at you while you were coaching another student. I counted. I laughed. So you noticed too? I just happened to see it. Right? Happened to. Keegan turned his face away, but the tips of his ears turned visibly red. A strange feeling crept into my chest. Not triumph. Not self-satisfaction either. Just, I liked that Keegan noticed me, even if it was by accident. Friday afternoon, I was at the front desk of the gym when my phone buzzed. The first message from Keegan. Keegan, are you still on campus? I replied right away. Tate, yeah, what's up? A few seconds later. Keegan, can you help me with something? 15 minutes later, I was in the architecture department's design studio. The room smelled of fresh-cut wood, paper, glue, and acrylic paint. Keegan was standing among a pile of models that took up nearly half the room. I'm here. He turned around, slightly embarrassed. I need to move this to the exhibition room. I looked at the model. That's almost 10 feet long? Yeah. You were planning to carry it alone? I tried. And it almost broke. I laughed. All right. Let's do it. We carefully lifted the model, walking slowly, step by step, down the hallway. At one point Keegan's foot slipped. Out of reflex, I reached out and caught his waist. Just for a second. Very brief. But we both froze. My hand was still resting on Keegan's hip. He looked at me. I looked back. Neither of us said anything, until Keegan cleared his throat. Thanks. Quickly let go. Sorry. No. You saved the model. I saved you too. He laughed softly. I know. We kept walking. But from that moment, something had changed. I couldn't explain it. I just knew that for the first time I started noticing the tiny details, like how Keegan always rolled his sleeves up to his elbows, or the small mole just under his jaw, or how pleasant the detergent smell on his hoodie was. Things a normal trainer would never pay attention to. That night, lying in my dorm bed, I kept remembering the feeling of my hand touching Keegan's waist. I closed my eyes, then laughed at myself. Don't overthink it. He's just a client. I repeated that to myself over and over. But deep down I knew I no longer saw Keegan as just a client. And maybe this was only the beginning of feelings neither of us was brave enough to name yet. If you asked me when Keegan stopped being just a client in my eyes, I wouldn't say it was the day I caught him from dropping the model, nor the day he started smiling more. It was a very ordinary Monday morning. So ordinary that if I hadn't happened to glance at the door that day, I probably would never have remembered it. 5:28. I was changing plates on the barbell when the gym door opened. Keegan walked in. But today he wasn't alone. A blonde girl ran in after him, handing him a cup of coffee. Keegan, you forgot this. Thanks, Emma. Don't forget the meeting tonight. Yeah. She smiled brightly and ran off. I don't know why I just stood there watching her go. Keegan walked over. Hey, I thought you had the day off. Why? There was an exhibition at the architecture department last night. It ended late. You knew about it? I walked by. Actually, I hadn't just walked by. I'd stood outside the door for almost 10 minutes, watching Keegan busily guiding visitors around. I had thought about going in to say hi, but seeing him surrounded by so many people, I decided against it. Let's train. I turned around, trying to keep my voice normal. Throughout the session, Keegan kept glancing at me. By the third set of squats, he set the bar down. Are you in a mood today? Huh. You're talking less than usual. I'm the same as always. No. You're upset. I'm not upset. You're lying. I laughed. Since when did you learn psychology? I just look at your face. I'm fine. Keegan was quiet for a few seconds, then suddenly asked, Did you think Emma was my girlfriend? I nearly dropped the towel off my shoulder. Who said that? No one. But your face did. I was so flustered I almost laughed at myself. I was curious. Keegan crossed his arms. Just curious? Yeah. She's a group project partner. That's it. I'm not dating her. I didn't ask. But you wanted to know. I looked at him. Then we both burst out laughing. The tension dissolved as quickly as it had appeared. But in my chest, a question surfaced that scared even me. Why did I feel relieved to hear Keegan didn't have a girlfriend? I tried to push the thought away. I had dated girls before. Even though none of those relationships had ever lasted longer than a year, I had always thought of myself as an ordinary guy. So what was this feeling? That afternoon, I went to the library to finish a physiology report. I was searching for a book when I heard a familiar voice. Tate. I turned around. Keegan. Arms full of thick books. You study here too? I basically live here. I laughed. What about you? I'm looking for structural engineering references. Want to sit together? I nodded. We picked a table by the window. Outside, the first maple leaves of autumn were beginning to turn amber and orange. The afternoon light streamed through the glass, falling across Keegan's face. For the first time, I had the chance to really look at him without needing to correct his form. Those blue-gray eyes weren't cold anymore. The way they'd been when we first met. They were just very calm. What are you looking at? Keegan's voice pulled me back. Oh, I was just thinking. Thinking what? You look different in glasses. Keegan reached up and touched the frames. That bad? No. It looks good. I answered too fast. Fast enough to startle even myself. Keegan smiled slightly. I'll take that as a compliment. A comfortable silence stretched between us. Neither of us spoke. Just the sound of turning pages. Keyboard clicks. And occasionally rain tapping against the window. I realized, next to Keegan, even silence felt comfortable. That was a rare feeling. Around 6 in the evening, my stomach growled. Keegan looked up from his drawing. Hungry? A little. Let's eat. The cafeteria's closed. I know a burger place by the North Gate. A trainer eating burgers? Is there a problem? I thought you only ate chicken breast and broccoli. I laughed. I'm not a robot. 10 minutes later, we sat in a small burger joint that students in the school like to frequent. I ordered a double beef burger. Keegan eyed me suspiciously. I thought you were on a diet. 80% of the time. The other 20%. Enjoying life. Keegan rested his chin on his hand. I always thought you were perfect. I nearly choked. Perfect? Yeah. Always on time. Disciplined. Great at training. Great at school. Never tired. I laughed and shook my head. You're wrong. I have plenty of days when I just want to stay in bed too. I've failed tests before. Been injured before. Lost my sense of direction before. The difference is, I still keep moving forward. Keegan was quiet for a long time. Then he said softly, I wish I could be like you. For the first time since we'd met, I heard a vulnerability in his voice that he always tried to hide. I didn't ask right away. I just looked at him. Keegan. Is something going on with you? He looked down, turning the cup in his hands. Took a long time before he answered. My dad. Ever since my parents divorced, he basically disappeared. He calls once every 3 months. Every time he calls, he asks about my grades, asks about my plans, asks if I've gotten a scholarship. He's never once asked if I'm okay. I fell silent. Some kinds of sadness don't need many words. Just one sentence is enough to make the listener understand it's been there for years. I put my hand on the table very close to Keegan's. Not touching, just close enough for him to know he didn't have to sit there alone. Keegan looked up at me. His eyes softened. And in that moment, I had a very clear feeling. What was between us was no longer just a trainer and client relationship. Something deeper was quietly growing. Slowly, silently, but nothing could stop it now. After that night, something changed very naturally. Keegan and I started texting each other. At first, it was just messages related to training. Me, don't forget to drink enough water. Keegan, got it. Me, what did you eat today? Keegan, pizza. Me, no. Keegan, kidding. Keegan, grilled chicken. Me, good. Then longer messages started appearing. Keegan sent a photo of a model he'd just finished. I sent a photo of the sunrise over Lake Washington after a morning run. One day, I was studying when my phone buzzed. Keegan, if I survive structures class, I'll treat you to dinner tonight. I laughed out loud in the middle of the library. A girl sitting across from me looked up, confused. I just shrugged. I don't know why, but one text from Keegan was enough to lift my whole mood. By mid-October, autumn in Seattle was breathtaking. The rows of maples on campus turned the paths gold. Leaves covered the steps in front of the library. Thin morning mist settled over the grass. The air was cold but pleasant. After training, Keegan and I often walked across campus together instead of heading straight to our separate departments. That day, he tucked both hands into his jacket pockets. Tate, do you ever think about what you'll do after graduation? I want to open a gym. Keegan turned to look at me. Really? Yeah. Not a big chain gym. Just a place where everyone feels welcome. Where new people don't get laughed at. Where anyone can start. I love watching people transform. Keegan smiled. Sounds like you. What about you? He watched the leaves drifting in the wind. I want to design houses. But not mansions. I want to design public housing. Why? Because when I was a kid, my family moved a lot. I always thought, everyone deserves a place to call home. I froze. Maybe to someone else that would just sound like an ordinary sentence. But not to me. I realized that behind that cold exterior, Keegan was actually a very gentle person. He just hid it very well. Tate! A girl's voice rang out from behind us. I turned around. It was Chloe, a classmate of mine. She ran over, beaming. Hey, are you free tomorrow night? I was going to. Chloe suddenly noticed Keegan. Oh, sorry. Am I interrupting you too? No, I answered. This is Keegan. This is Chloe. They shook hands. Chloe smiled warmly. I was going to ask Tate to see a movie. He always says no. I think this time he'll say yes. Before I could answer, Keegan spoke up. You should go. I looked at him. You haven't taken a break in a while. I smiled awkwardly. I'll think about it. Chloe nodded. Text me. She walked off. The air between me and Keegan suddenly felt strange. We walked a few more steps without either of us saying anything. Finally, I broke the silence. What do you think of Chloe? Keegan shrugged. Sweet. Pretty. Funny. Good match for you. Match? Yeah. Why? She likes you. I can tell. What about you? I looked at Keegan. Do you really want to know? Yeah. Right then, Keegan's phone rang. He looked at the screen. His expression changed instantly. Dad, he whispered. I only caught a glimpse of Keegan stepping aside to take the call. His voice grew quieter. I know. I'll think about it. No, I haven't decided. Okay. The call lasted less than 3 minutes. But when Keegan turned back around, his face had gone pale. What happened? He shook his head. Nothing. Keegan. I'm fine. You're not fine. He forced a smile. It's just. Dad wants me to move back to California after graduation. I stood frozen. California? Yeah. He said he knows an architecture firm. Good salary. Stable future. I tried to stay calm. So what do you think? Keegan stared straight ahead at the trees. I don't know yet. But for some reason, right then, my chest tightened. We still had more than a year left before graduation. And yet just the thought that Keegan might leave Seattle already made it hard to breathe. I hated that feeling, because it made me face a truth I'd been avoiding this whole time. Keegan wasn't just part of my daily schedule anymore. He had become part of my life. And the thought that one day I might never see him again was far more terrifying than I'd expected. That night, I lay awake tossing and turning until almost 2 in the morning. I opened my phone. My chat with Keegan was still lit up on the screen. My finger hovered over the keyboard for a long time. In the end, I only sent one line. Me. If something's wrong, you don't have to carry it alone. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Keegan, thanks. Another message followed. Keegan, Tate, Keegan. I'm really glad I met you. I stared at those words for a long time. A warmth spread through my chest. But along with it came an unease I couldn't quite name. Because sometimes, people only say things like that when they know that someday, they'll have to leave. And I started to fear that the countdown for however much time we had left together had quietly already begun. The next morning, I got to the gym almost 20 minutes earlier than usual. Not because of a new training plan. Not because I needed extra equipment. But because I'd barely slept all night. Keegan's last message kept replaying in my head. I'm really glad I met you. It sounded like a thank you, but it also sounded like a goodbye. I hated that I was reading into it like this, but the human heart has never known how to listen to reason. 5:27. The gym door opened. Keegan walked in like every other day. Morning. Morning. He set down his backpack, grabbed a towel and started warming up. I watched for a few seconds. We're not training today. Keegan turned around. What? I changed the schedule. Come with me. Are you trying to kidnap a client? I'm considering it. Keegan laughed. At least tell me where we're going. You'll find out soon. 15 minutes later, my beat-up pickup truck pulled up in front of Discovery Park. This was where I usually went running on weekends. It was still early. Fog covered the trails. The smell of pine and damp earth after the rain mixed together, making the air cool and pleasant. Keegan looked around. I thought we were doing legs today. We are. Here. I don't see a squat rack. Neither do I. I laughed. Today's cardio. Hill climbing. Keegan sighed. I'm starting to suspect you enjoy torturing people. No. I enjoy pulling people out from behind for walls. We started running. Slow steps at first. Then faster. The trail wound through the trees. On both sides, tall fir trunks rose up around us. Neither of us said anything. Just the sound of shoes hitting the ground. Birds. Wind. After almost 30 minutes, we stopped on a rocky outcrop overlooking Puget Sound. The sun had just risen above the horizon. Orange light spread across the shimmering water. Keegan bent over, hands on his knees, catching his breath. It's beautiful. I know. Why haven't you brought me here before? I was waiting. For what? For you to get strong enough. Keegan laughed. You really are insane. I've heard that a lot. Always from you, though. We sat down on a fallen tree trunk. I pulled 2 sandwiches out of my backpack. Keegan's eyes widened. When did you make these? Last night. You know how to cook? Pretty decent. What about you? Keegan shrugged. If instant noodles don't count, then... No. I laughed loudly. I'm going to have to add a cooking module to your program. What trainer teaches cooking too? One who wants his client to survive. We both burst out laughing. That moment felt so light that I nearly forgot about the phone call from Keegan's dad the day before. After we finished eating, Keegan suddenly asked, Tate, have you ever been in love? The sandwich in my hand froze. Yes. Once. Back in high school. What happened? She moved to Boston for school. Too far. We broke up mutually. What about you? Keegan stared at the lake for a long time. I never have. Never had a crush? I have. Once. But. He doesn't know. My heart pounded. Why not? Nothing would come of it. I didn't want to lose the friendship. I nodded. That was completely normal. Everyone had a one-sided crush on someone at some point. But for some reason, I felt bothered. A very strange feeling. Like someone had quietly placed a stone on my chest. I bet. That guy is really lucky. Keegan smiled faintly. Maybe. He's a really good person. Better than me by a lot. I looked over. For the first time, I saw Keegan talk about someone with such a gentle expression. I told myself, don't ask any more. That's his own business. But my mouth betrayed me. Do you still like him? Keegan went quiet. A gust of wind blew past. Golden maple leaves scattered around us. Finally, he nodded. Yeah, still do. I forced a smile. I hope someday he'll realize it. Keegan didn't answer. He just looked at me. For a long time, that gaze made me feel like he wanted to say something. But then, he just smiled softly. I hope so too. On the way back to campus, we were both quiet. The silence wasn't awkward. Each of us was just lost in our own thoughts. I thought about the person Keegan had once liked. A guy? Or a girl? I didn't know, and I had no right to ask. But what confused me even more was, why did I feel jealous? Not a violent kind of jealousy, just a dull, lingering feeling. Enough that I couldn't focus on my lectures all morning. That afternoon, while putting away weights after my shift, my coworker Maya suddenly walked over. Tate. Are you and Keegan dating? I nearly dropped the weight in my hand. What? Maya laughed. Everyone in the gym thinks so. Why? You two are always together. Eating together. Studying together. Laughing with each other. And this morning, someone saw you two driving off campus before 6 a.m. I immediately shook my head. No, we're just trainer and client. Maya raised an eyebrow. Really? Yeah. You've never once looked at Keegan the way someone looks at just a client. I stood there stunned. What did you say? Maya shrugged. I've worked here 2 years. I see more than you think. With that, she picked up a disinfectant spray and walked off toward the cardio machines, leaving me standing alone in the middle of the gym. I looked at my reflection in the big mirror. For the first time, I asked myself a question I had never dared face before. Could it be that I'm in love with Keegan? The thought stunned me, because if the answer was yes, then my life from today onward would never be the same again.